Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining my session this morning. I want to apologize for my being late this morning. However, I do hope that I am able to say something to pique your interest and to maybe help you out if you are either using Moodle or if you're like a lot of my clients and my people that I have worked with before who are wanting to use or who have a learning management system. And for whatever reason, be it cost or user training, whatever the reason, they're looking to switch to something that's a little bit more cost effective and a little bit more user friendly. The reason that I decided to do standards-based grading in Moodle is that in talking to educators, myself, I'm an educator. I've been teaching for several years at the post-secondary community college and the university level. But the reason why a lot of administrators kind of shy away sometimes from Moodle, as well as my K through 12 clients, is because they don't think that, well, first of all, they think that it's pretty difficult to host and pretty difficult to manage. And they think that, of course, it doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles, if you will, that some of the other learning management systems do have, such as Blackboard, Angel, Desire to Learn, et cetera, and so forth. So today I really wanted to talk to you and to show you what we call standards-based grading using Moodle. And the way that I'm going to present this is I have 3 slides that basically introduce what I'm going to tell you and hopefully what you get out of the session. And then I'm going to show you how to activate, if you will, those components within Moodle. And then after that, if you have questions, then I would like to address those. Again, I'm Dr. Sherida Habersham. You can see this is my PhD in Ed Psych, all of those other things that are important. I think, though, most of all, I'm an educator. I'm a consultant now. I'm an educational technology consultant, and I also do a couple of other things. But I am an educator. Therefore, I am not someone who is solely a technical person, but I understand how to take technology and help us improve our instructional practices. And that's why I'm a big proponent of Moodle. Also, because Moodle, and in my words, it's free, but it's priceless. So if you're like most of the colleges and K through 12 schools that I work with, you're on a budget. You're very budget conscious. Therefore, I think Moodle fits that bill. It's very user-friendly. It's customizable. And again, because everything now is accountability, data-driven instruction, data-informed instruction, et cetera, and so forth, it does have that ability. If you have a question, again, here's my contact information. Feel free to email me at sherida@drsherida.com. You may also visit my website at drsherida.com. All right, I have 2 outcomes of this presentation. First of all is that participants will understand the importance of outcomes-based grading, and that participants will understand, let me move my cursor out of the way, participants will understand how to set up outcome-based grading in Moodle, and I use version 2.8. Now, in this particular presentation, you will not see the elaborate reports that you can, for sake of time, you're not going to see the elaborate reports that will come out of what we're going to build. I'm simply going to show you about 3 components, and after installing, enabling those 3 components, you will be able to really get whatever type of data whatever type of information, I should say, that as an instructional leader, as instructor, dean, VP, whatever that you need to get from your learning management system. All right, so again, just talk about, first of all, the importance of outcomes-based grading. And because I am talking to educators, I don't really have to continue to go over that point. What we have moved toward, I know here in Georgia, is more accountability, more of getting to know our students, more not necessarily so much worrying about, if students get an A, a B, or a C, but whether or not they have met the standard, whether or not they are meeting the standard, and if they are not meeting the standard, then going out, being able to pull something, some type of intervention program, so that at the end of the day, students meet, and what we really want them to do is exceed the standards. We do know, based upon experience and based upon research, that grades, ABC, those type grades, even though they are important, we do know that they don't necessarily predict what a student has learned. And so really trying to focus on, learning-centered colleges, learning-centered high schools, learning-centered career academies, outcomes-based grading is very important. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to transition from this presentation. I'm going to just log into my Moodle site. I think it's actually already logged in, and just show you what I'm talking about. Again, I'm using Moodle 2.8. You can use some of the older versions of Moodle, and outcomes are already installed as a part of that. All right, it's opening up now so that you can see. Enlarge this a little bit so I can see. Okay. So that it's familiar to you, I'm just going to go all the way out to home and just log back in. I'm using a Moodle theme. It's called Essentials. I like that theme because once you install Essentials, if you're familiar with the way some Moodle installations look, Essentials allows you to use not only the learning management, well, of course it's a learning management system, but it allows you also to repurpose the LMS as a website, allowing you a lot more flexibility in your learning management system. So I have some courses down here, and I'm just going to go into I believe it's the research course. And I'm logged in as an administrator, so of course as a student, a lot of this will not be visible. I'm just going to turn editing off so we have a cleaner view here. I subscribe to the standards of Quality Matters, the rubric for quality online courses. And if any of you are familiar with that, you may say, well, it doesn't look like it in this course. Well, this is for privacy reasons, I could not share or I didn't want to share any of my live courses, but this is a mimic of a course that I do for dissertation students for mentoring. So everything is not in here, but what we need for this particular session is. All right, again, just a quick overview of the course, and then I'm going to jump right into what we are here to see today. Again, I just have my textbook here. I have a couple of modules set up here. And when thinking about standard-based grading, one of the first things you want to make sure when you set up in your class is you want your students to see their outcomes. All right, I'm sure many of you are familiar with SLO, student learning outcomes. They must be specific and they must be measurable. And so everything in the standards-based learning is really tied, first of all, to the standards and the outcomes. So we are measuring, or we are evaluating the student's progress on the standards. And how are we doing that? Through specific student learning outcomes. So I've set this up, again, based upon Quality Matters rubrics and just really good online instruction practices. And this works not only for just online, but it also works for hybrid courses as well. So maybe you're not looking to do the complete jump into online. Maybe you're just wanting to do some hybrid, half online, half face-to-face. This works as well. So in this section, we're going to learn about, we have our objectives here, non-scientific and scientific ways to gain knowledge, history of the scientific method, etc., and so forth. I have my chapter notes here, and I have my student assignment. Right here, I have two assignments. I have a constructed response assignment, and then I have the exam, which, of course, is a mixture of multiple choice, true and false, short answer, constructed response, watch a video, answer questions. All types of neat things I have here in the exam. And so what I'm going to do is to show you how to, first of all, set up our scales, and then set up our outcomes, and then set up our grades. And those are the three elements that you need in order to make standard-based grading work. Of course, you have to have a standard. That may be a state standard. That may be a local standard. You have to have some standard. And then the subsection, I guess, that's a good way of saying it, of that standard is going to be your scale. So we'll start there. We'll need to navigate over to the administration panel. I like to have mine docked in the middle. All right, and we're going to go into course administration, because generally, and it depends on how your maybe your educational technology director or learning management director, how he or she sets it up. But generally, it's good practice that instructors or course editors only have access to their course. Some of this can be set up from a site-wide perspective, but this is set up from the course perspective. So I want to go into course administration. Again, this is the essential theme, Moodle 2.8. And I want to go and look at my outcomes. I already have some set up, but I'm going to walk you through setting them up. All right, when I expand my outcome, and here are just some outcomes that I already have set up, and I just use the word standard because that's what I'm used to, and that's the title of the presentation, Standard-Based Grading. Underneath grade administration, when I open up outcomes, I see scales. Let's open that up and take a look at that. Now, you're not going to see a whole lot in here because, again, this is just a dummy course. But scales are the first step in setting up your standard-based grading. Now, scales can be something that's institutional, or it can be something that's unique to your department or to your course. Moodle comes with a scale that's called, it's a mostly separate knowing, separate and connecting, mostly connected knowing. It's a scale of knowing, connected, and learning. I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with this standard, with this scale. So what I do is I go in and create custom scales. So what I want to do is I'm going to teach you how at this point to add your own scale. Because with the basic installation of Moodle, you're going to just get this one scale here. So let's add one. You want to click on Add a New Scale. Again, I'm under Course Administration. So I'm just going to give my scale a name. And so since I have standard so much, I'm just going to put research classes this 1000 grading scale. Standard scales, a standard scale that is available site-wide for all courses. If I am someone who's setting up courses, or if I teach mini courses, or maybe I'm the instructional designer LMS specialist that's going to be setting up a lot of courses, I would go ahead and select standard. That way it will be available for all courses. Now, one great thing I like about Moodle, again, it's very user-friendly. If I come to this required area here and I have no idea what they're wanting, I can click on Help, and it gives me a definition of scales. This provides a way of evaluating or grading performance in an activity. Very important, it's defined by an ordered list of values ranging from negative to positive, separated by commas. And it gives you an example. So because I'm thinking in terms of standards, I'm going to say my first scale, or the first variable in the scale is going to be does not meet standards. All right. Comma. So a student, the most negative, progression of a student is that they don't meet the standard. And if they don't meet a particular standard, then of course we need to find something, intervene to make sure they meet the standard. All right, the next level of performance could be they meet standards. And then the next level, highest level, would be exceed standards. This is defining your scale. Goes from lowest to highest, just separate them by commas. You can go in and put a description in. It can be whatever you like, as long or as short as you like. I believe in documenting, but for time's sakes, I'm going to just say this grading scale is a standard scale used in all research classes. Right? Just going to save that. And you can see it's now available. At this point, it tells me it's not being used yet because I have not created an outcome and linked it to this scale. All right, some of the other scales that I've created here, as well as the one that comes, with Moodle, if I need to go in and edit them, I can just go back in and edit them. One thing to remember, once you have created a scale and you have linked that scale to an outcome, you cannot delete it. The only thing you can do is go in and modify it. All right, as you can see, this one is being used and I don't have the ability to delete it. So keep that in mind. Set your scales up. Make sure they look the way that you want them to look before you tie them to an outcome, because once they're tied to an outcome and that outcome is tied to an activity, you can only, at this level, you can only edit, not delete. All right, so the first step is creating a scale. Again, you want to go in through grade administration. You want to go down to outcomes. For scale, add a new scale. All right, go over that one more time. Edit it. Scales range from lowest to highest. Separated by commas. All right, let's go to our next step in our standard-based grading, and that's going to be your outcomes. So again, under grade administration within my course, let's go to outcomes. And as you can see, I already have some outcomes that I've used in the course. I can edit these outcomes. If I need to, by choosing edit. Or if I need to, again, edit using the gear button, I can go in and edit. I can also import outcomes. That's going to be beyond the scope of this particular presentation, but if you would like to see, I think I have some videos on that. If you'll send me a link, Sherida at drsherida.com, I'll step you through that, or I'll do a webinar for you, whatever you need. So you can actually, you don't have to go through all of these step by step. You can actually format an external file and then import it in. But for this presentation, I'm going to show you how to just add a new outcome, just one at a time. Now, of course, if you have 50 outcomes, this is not going to be an efficient or effective use of your time, so you definitely want to import them. All right, we've created a scale. Next step is creating the outcome. The outcome is synonymous to the standard in my world. So right here, I'm just going to, this is a research class, so I'm going to give the outcome a name. Now, if you know your state standards or your local standards, you know, off the top of your head, like standard 1.2.3, then by all means, you know, just put 1.2.3. Or if you like me, sometimes you need a little help, put a colon there and then describe what the outcome is or what the standard is. If you're creating standards from scratch, then of course you want to go use your Bloom's taxonomy or your depth of knowledge, you know, whichever taxonomy you use, and create the outcome. I'm just going to quickly come up with one. Students will identify these steps in the scientific process. Give it a short name. That short name can just be the standard number. I'm going to say that is a standard outcome because I don't want to have to keep going back adding it. Here's the scale again. Do I want standard scales, meetings? You know, which scale do I need? And if you say, whoops, I forgot to add a scale, then at this point I can click add a new scale and it will take me back to the screen that we just went through. But I want to use my Research 1000 grading scale and then put a description in. You can make it as long or as short as you want. I'm just going to put the full name of the outcome. Then I save it. All right. Again, once I have attached this to an activity, is what I'm going to show you next, you can only edit. Of course, you can go in your MySQL database if you are privy to that and make changes there, delete it there. But from the instructor level, most of the time instructors don't have access to the MySQL database behind your learning management system, so you'll just have to work within the LMS. All right, so for sake of time, again, I'm just going to do one outcome. If you needed to add another one, you can do that here. If you needed to export these, and which is, for whatever reason, you have that option to do that. All right, now let's assign, since we've created our scale, since we've created our outcome, we're going to assign this outcome to an activity. One other thing, though, I'd like to quickly show you here. You have the option, looking at the gear, to change your letters around, edit the letter grades. I know some schools, some of my K through 12 schools, they don't have B's and F's. So if you want to just go in and take that out, or maybe, if everything from, I know my high school, they didn't do A minus. If it was a 90 or above, it was an A. It was pretty standard with college. So you can go in and edit, modify those grades there. All right, let's now go back into our course. Which is my research methods course. I already have this set up. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how to add it. This particular assignment, analyzing the data in your study, is already linked to an outcome. And because of these different links, that's how you can create your outcome report. Let me turn editing on. I'm going to show you how, if you need to change that, you can go in, edit settings. And scroll down to the bottom. We want to look for outcomes. Now, outcomes must be enabled. I don't know if I said that at the beginning, but you must enable outcomes at the beginning. It's not turned on by default, but as an instructor, it will probably already be set up for you. But if I have any administrators, LMS people listening, make sure that you go in and enable that for your teachers. We're going to look at outcomes here. These are all of the standards that we have so far. I only have 4 for this course, again, because it was a demo, but you may have hundreds. And so you can choose the standards that you want linked, or the outcomes that you want linked to this course, or for this activity, I'm sorry. You can go in and change some grading methods. Okay. So that's what it looks like once it's already set up. So let me show you how to set it up. What I want to do is add an activity. I'm going to add a quiz. I could just add an assignment, but I want to add a quiz to give you a little bit more information. Maybe you are wondering how to add a quiz in Moodle, and so I can show you that, as well as how to put outcomes on it or attach outcomes. So I already have a quiz one, so let's just say final call it an exit exam. Exit exam for Module 1. We want to give it a description. Control V. Here's where we set our timing. Open the quiz, close the quiz, time limit. Again, this is why I really like Moodle over other LMSs. Even though they have this, Moodle allows you to truly fine-tune it. You can give students grace periods. Now, I could be wrong, but I can't remember off the top of my head another LMS that I've worked with in the last year that has this ability. Maybe Canvas does the grace period, but again, I can't 100% say that it does. So like I said, I really like Moodle for several reasons. You look at some of your big LMSs that cost you, sometimes $40, $50 a student, where learning management system, where Moodle, because it's open source, can cost you about $2 per student. But anyway, here's other areas that we can change. Grade category. This one's uncategorized initially. You have to go in, by the way, a little history of Moodle. This was an Australian company, so you have to go in and change it to use the U.S. English. Everything is, spelled with it's spelled a little funny, different than the way we're used to looking at it. But I only have 2 types of grades in this demo course. I have exams and writing assessments. This is an exam. They can only take it twice. Want to take the highest grade, or you can change it to say, average the grades. What we're looking at, a couple more things, but what we're looking at is outcomes. Remember, we've set up the scale, we've set up the outcome. Now let's link that outcome to an activity. So I wanted to show more. Here are my outcomes. This is why I say, for me, it's good to put the description of the standard in the title, because standard 2 to me doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I would have to, have a list to go back and say, oh, what standard 2 is. But if I go ahead and put it in that title, then I know what it is. I can link that standard. Let's just go ahead and do standard 2 as well. Save and display. Again, we are creating an exam. And there are several ways to get exam questions into Moodle. I like to just download. If I'm not creating them myself, I like to download, use something like Exam View, File, Exports. You want to do Blackboard 6.0. That puts it in a really nice zip file for you. And then you can import that text bank in, or test bank in. We want to go and edit quiz, because right now we don't have any questions. Click add over here. You can create a new question. You can bring them in from a test bank. We can do random. I'm just going to do random. I want, since this is a test out, let me have 40 questions. You can give it a name if I choose, but I'm not. You can talk about that another time. Oops, I need to give it that name. Let's say test out questions. Then I'm going to create category and add random questions. A little misleading because it seems like it's just one, but you told it the number to add. And so it shows 40 random questions. Maximum the student can make is 100, not 1100. Save it. I want to change the way that the questions are presented. I can have some options there. Research tells us that it's easier for people to complete a survey and for students to concentrate if we have no more than 2 questions on a page. Some students report to me that they don't like that. They like to have all of their questions so they can just look at them at one time. So, I believe in customizing my instruction for my students as much as possible. So that's just something you'll have to kind of talk about with your students. Let me save it. And now I'm going to just go back out to my exit exam that I just created, added the questions. And this is what it will look like for the students. Apparently I skipped a step there and didn't bring enough questions in. My apologies. So let me just go back and show you one that I know works. When you're bringing your test over, and if you choose to put them in categories, let's just say essay questions, multiple choice, make sure that you know that you only have 5 essay questions. Don't try to ask it to pull for to pull 10 essay questions, because you're going to get the error that I just received. This is one that I created earlier. Let me go back. I know I added some questions to it. Did I add the questions to chapter 2? I guess not. I didn't add enough questions. If we have time at the end, I'll go back and edit those and pull those questions in so you can see what it looks like. All right, well, let me go to the next part. And again, if we have time at the end, I'll go back and edit that so that you can see what the questions look like when they're presented to the students. Last thing I want to show you again is we've created the scales, we've created the outcomes. Now let's look at the reports. I want to look at the outcome reports. So I'm just going to go back to my top category, which is my course. We want to go back to my course administration here. By the way, this is where you would put your question banks at. Go back to outcomes. Just make sure everything looks right. It does. And here are several different reports under grade administration that you can use as an instructor. We want to look at outcome report, keeping in mind that we're not going to see a lot of information on this report. I just really want to show you the type of information that you receive. What we have here is our standard. All right, we have our standard. We have our the course average on whatever whatever scale that we chose. All right, this would be the scale that either you created or the scale that comes pre-packaged, if you will, with Moodle. And in this case, we just have the one that is pre-packaged with Moodle. This would be where you would put your standard 2.2. Students will be able to state the state the process or state the steps in the scientific process. This is where that would be, and it will show you your course average. It will show you the different activities that are linked to that particular standard, the average, and the number of grades that are associated with that particular standard, this particular grading scale. This can throw you off a little bit where it says course average, but this is the grading scale. This lets you know if this is a site-wide, because you're looking at it kind of from a bird's eye view now. This lets you know if this is a site-wide standard. Again, the different activities that are part of it, the average, and the number of grades. All right, that's the outcomes report. You can actually look at an overview report. It's because I don't have a lot of grades in here, you're not going to see a lot. But these are two submissions that I have. The calculated weight, they're not set up in here, but if you, because of the type of course this is, but you would be able to see what has been submitted, the total weight, the grade, the range, of course, the percentage, the feedback, if you gave the student feedback, and the contribution to the course total. Again, very important to run these reports as you are going along in your class to try to reach out to students to make sure they are meeting. We really want them to exceed the standards. Here's a single view. So this allows you to look at it by submission. Because there's no grade there, it's not a whole lot to show. There's nothing to show. The last one I want to show you is the user report. This is one that I use a lot because I need to see, and you can go in, that's what I like about Moodle, you can go in and configure this. I want to see not only their grades, but I also want to see their activity, how long they have been logged into a course, what, if I have a video in there for them to watch, did they watch it? How long did they watch it? How do they interact with it? You can choose all users, which I don't have any users in this course, or you can choose just one particular user. Again, all of those things are under the grade administration. We have a grader report. I don't think I clicked on that one. That will allow you to see the different grades for all the participants, or you can just search. If you're looking at Bob, you want to see everybody whose first name starts with a B or everybody whose last name starts with an M. You can do that there. And this is, again, user report. But I'm the only user in here, so you just see my information. At this, under the user report, you can look at the scales that you have in this course. Again, remember, everything starts with the scales. From the scales, you go to outcomes. From the outcomes, you create an activity. An activity can be a workshop, it can be an exam, it can be a quiz, it can be a, if you have some type of SCORM package, it can be whatever. You just want to link that activity to the outcome, or link that outcome to the activity. Once you have your grades in, then you just run the report, and then you can see how you can modify, and then the report allows you to monitor your students' progress as they go through your course. Again, you can also add different different triggers, if you will. you want, once the student falls below a certain grade, if you want to see everybody who's not meeting, you can add a trigger so that you can create that. There are different reports that you can find out in the repository, Moodle repository, or you can go in and create yourself. Or if you just want to export it into Excel and do some conditional formatting, you can do that as well. Okay, and I believe that concludes my overview. I'm going to take the screen down, or attempt to take the screen down, and address any questions that you all may have.